Welcome again, everyone. We're super excited to see you all here tonight, and thanks for spending your Thursday evening with us. We're happy to be with you.
So welcome from me also.
And to give you an idea of the kind of order of operations here tonight, Jane and I will spend a little bit of time introducing ourselves and also One Voice as an organization to you. And then we'll answer some of the questions that you submitted prior to this Zoom meeting. And we'll have some time at the end to do follow-up questions or any spontaneous questions that come up for you throughout the course of our gathering tonight. And to kick us off, my name is Mitch Fantin. I'm Executive Director of One Voice Mixed Chorus. To give you a little idea about what I do in the organization, I am the primary staff fiduciary of One Voice. So I report to the board of directors. I'm responsible for strategic planning, fundraising, fiscal management, marketing and promotion. That includes both branding for the organization as a whole, but also marketing specific events like concerts and some of the other things we've been up to during COVID, like a podcast and a movie, which just came out this past weekend. And then, of course, I'm intricately involved in hiring and staffing for the organization.
And my name is Jane Ramseyer Miller, and my role is as artistic director. And my role is to figure out what our programming is going to be, to lead rehearsals, to lead our concerts and our other events that happen out in the community. And we're going to give you, I think, a really nice overview of what all those pieces of our programming are tonight. One Voice Mixed Chorus. Our mission statement is building community and creating social change by raising our voices in song. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that mission as we go on. But One Voice started in 1988. So here's a lovely picture of the very first chorus. And then these are some of those same people, some of the alumni who came back in the color photograph as part of our 30th anniversary concert. So we are just over 30 years old currently. And from the very beginning, One Voice was considered a chorus that worked for social change. You can see this is the initial ad that went in. It was then called Equal Time Magazine for, at that point, you know, it was mostly gay men and lesbians. And you will see in this ad that that's who were being recruited. When we got a little more enlightened, we also expanded our community to make sure that transgender, non-binary people, bisexual people, straight people, polyamorous people are all a part of this One Voice community. So as most of you know, it's a little hard to be a chorus during COVID. So we have come up with some pretty creative ways over the past 18 months to be a chorus. In a usual year, we perform 2 to 3 major concerts a year. They are often themed concerts. You can see the one on the left was a concert called Sanctuary, exploring the music of all kinds of immigrants to Minnesota. Queer Thunder was a collaboration with a taiko drumming group. The Man Behind the Dream was a large commission that featured the story of Bayard Rustin, queer, gay, African-American activist. So since we haven't been able to sing in person, over the past 18 months, we've had an event called Monday Night Live for our singers. We have done rehearsing over Zoom, lots of social events, and also what we call equity and engagement training. And Mitch is going to talk about that a little bit later. Last fall, we also held 5 different ensemble groups that rehearsed outside. And these are the ensemble leaders that led those groups. And it was really a chance for, in smaller, safe sections, to just sing together. This was one of our groups called, this is a group called the Ukulades, and they led just what we called a Y'all Come and Sing ensemble, which was really fun. One Voice for over 20 years, close to 25 years, has also had a program called Out in Our Schools, where we go out and perform a particular themed concert with a curriculum in schools all across the metro area and sometimes in greater Minnesota. We also do usually an annual community engagement tour to Greater Minnesota, and we have been all over this state because part of our mission is to get this, get our mission outside of the Twin Cities where it's a little easier to be queer and support queer people and parents and family outside of metro areas. So this past spring, because we couldn't do a tour, we actually had a grant to do a tour. And instead we created a podcast called Sound Mind. And I invite you, whoops, this must be on a timer. I invite you to watch the Sound Mind podcast and listen to some of the episodes and learn to know some of our community. So we interviewed LGBT artists from across Minnesota. And then this spring, we worked on a project called Remembering Singing Water. And this was a collaboration with Indigenous artists and other local artists to explore stories of Minnesota for immigrants, for Indigenous people, and for queer people. Some of our other artists were the Akitawan Youth Acting Ensemble, who helped out as live puppets. And believe it or not, our singers recorded all their own voice parts in their homes, on their phones, and then they were all edited together. And we went outside and filmed this concert in water in Minnehaha Park, and it eventually became a movie, which you will get to see on October 14 and 17. That's on our website. This is on Ovation, which is our ensemble. You'll see in the job description for the community engagement position that we want that person to be connecting with Ovation because they are sort of our ambassadors out into the world. At most of our concerts, we also offer education and action steps for people to take more steps. And you'll see a link to these kinds of resources on our website. We hope to have live auditions happening in January and get back to our regular singing rehearsals. Fingers crossed, that is our hope. And here's just a little bit of an org chart to give you a sense for how our organization is put together. I'm going to circle some of the positions. So this is Mitch's position as executive director. I'm over here as artistic director, and we both meet with the board. And we also have this operations coordinator who Mitch supervises. And we have an office assistant who is a volunteer. She works about half-time. She's a singer and contributes her time to this chorus. And then over here, you'll see the community engagement coordinator as well. And that person will work with me and with all of our other staff as well, but to really take our programming out into the world. And you can see just the various committees that function within the chorus. So that is One Voice.
Also, Jane, when did you create this PowerPoint? It's amazing. I've never seen this before.
This afternoon. Surprise!
All right. Well done. Okay, so I'm going to take us into a specific position. So obviously we have 2 open positions right now. I'm going to share more information about the operations coordinator position, and then Jane will share more about the community engagement position. So the ops position really, in my mind, is the nuts and bolts of this organization. And they're involved in a lot of different aspects of our work. But the primary ones are data entry and management, providing administrative support, as well as tech support. So on the tech support side, think of website maintenance, our CRM, which is our donor and volunteer database, and then basic video editing and photo editing. Also marketing. So this person is involved heavily in social media, sending out e-blasts to thousands of people, and also sometimes just internally to the chorus. And key among that is good communication skills. This person is responsible for sharing widely and internally key communications that we want to get out. And they are a really key partner to both Jane and I. So for the executive director and artistic director, this position really is working closely with both of us in some different capacities. So that's kind of the tactical work. but also very important in this role is relationships. So this person is the staff liaison in a lot of capacities to the chorus. They work very closely with our membership and diversity committee, which is a group of volunteers. They interact with donors, and by donors, I mean people who give $10 a month and people who give $10,000 a year. There's a big swath of folks in that, that designation. And then our volunteers. We're a small organization, and we rely heavily on volunteer hours and humans who believe in the mission and are ready to work at a moment's notice. And so this person is contacting those people, organizing volunteer activities and stuff like that. But they're interacting with all these different parts of the organization. And so I think that's a really important takeaway that I wanted to provide, that if you're applying or thinking about applying for that job, you'll be working with a lot of different types of people in different roles in the organization. And that's a really key aspect of it. Jane, do you want to add anything, or do you want to?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
I might jump in with, later. One Voice has been collaborating for almost 30 years with various kinds of groups, all kinds of groups, Greater Minnesota, schools, local nonprofit organizations. Almost every concert we collaborate with somebody. And I confessed to a colleague the other day that I started collaborating with One Voice. This is my 27th year with the chorus. And I started collaborating because I realized, we could get grant money if we did some interesting collaborations. Really, that was the first motivation. But what I found out was for our singers and for those communities, all of a sudden we started building these amazing relationships, and our concerts got richer and our audiences expanded. And all those benefits have come from these many collaborations. And 10 years ago, we as an organization created a job description for a community engagement coordinator because we were doing so much in the community. And it just wasn't the right time. We didn't have the right resources. We weren't ready for that position. And 10 years later, we are ready. We've spent a lot of the pandemic doing some work that we call equity and engagement, and Mitch is going to describe that to you.
Yeah, so as a chorus, typically on Monday nights, we meet for live rehearsals, or we did a year and a half ago. In place of those live rehearsals, we have every week met on Zoom. So as you all know, in your own lives, there is major Zoom fatigue. So I just want to share that it's pretty remarkable that as a chorus, we have people until our last Monday Night Live that we did, 80 to 120 people joining every week. So these are folks who are committed to this chorus and this mission. And a big part of that mission for us during COVID has been reflecting and dissecting how we show up, what our relationships are, and how we do our mission on stage and off stage. So moving away from these collaborations that are so amazing for audiences to see, but doing them right, and creating relationships equitably. So what we did is we made a conscious decision as an organization to require singers to participate in awareness workshops, in conversations on racial justice, on trans justice, on environmentalism, on all these different aspects that are incorporated into our artistic endeavors, but to have those conversations together and to learn together and to struggle together and learn together, so that when we show up and we partner with the community, we know who they are and we have a foundation of awareness and connection to their identities, and that it goes both ways. And so we've been meeting, we've held, I don't even know, probably 20 plus chorus-wide conversations on these topics. And this is a cornerstone of how we will move forward. This is not a kind of, I don't even know if this is the right analogy to use, flash in the pan, is it? Maybe? It came to mind. This isn't a temporary or transactional thing for us. This is really foundational in how we do our work moving forward. And even for the operations position, it's not like for the community engagement coordinator that it's all on them. This is centered in each of our roles. Everyone has a part in this. Whether you are a volunteer, a staff member, a board member, a donor, we want everyone to be involved in moving the organization forward in this space.
So one of the really amazing things that happened was right at the same time we were really focusing on this equity work. We had a wonderful, huge fan of our chorus pass away and leave us a bequest. And she said to me when I met with her before she passed on, she said, "I trust you to do whatever is most important with her gift." And it's that gift that is allowing this community engagement position to start and to have a space in our community and on our staff. And I'm really, really excited about Donna's legacy and what she is offering to that position. So this is a brand new position as Community Engagement Coordinator. We have some ideas for what this person will do. We also are really looking forward to seeing whoever is in the position and what their skills are and where they might take us in terms of new programming, in terms of their particular ideas and skills. A few of the things that we particularly are looking for is for that person to help with some evaluation of our current programming, the kinds of collaborations we do in the community, to help evaluate our Out in Our Schools program, the work that we do in Greater Minnesota, and help us think about, is this the most effective kind of work? Does this fit with our mission? Does this fit with our equity engagement priorities? So one of the interesting things about this position is the person in this position will need to collaborate with a really wide variety of people. So, for example, this last project that we did was with a bunch of Indigenous artists and connecting with particularly Ojibwe and Dakota communities. We've also connected with African American artists. We also connect with rural people in Greater Minnesota. We do programming in churches and synagogues. So you can imagine just sort of what a wide reach that is in terms of who we're connecting with. We're also looking for the person in the community engagement coordinator position to be our staff person for our equity and engagement work. So helping internally to make sure that our singers and our fifth section volunteers are educated and are continually talking about these issues, exploring racial justice in particular. I want to be clear, though, that it is not the role of this position to do all the work. They're sort of a container and maybe an initiator of this work, but the work is really lodged in our Equity and Engagement Committee, and there is a strong commitment to making sure that work is happening in every layer of the organization, at the board level, at every committee, with our singers and our volunteers and staff. Another part of this position is to help One Voice integrate the stories of our work in collaborating into our concert programs and into our performances. So one of you asked, what are the goals that One Voice is trying to achieve by adding this particular position? And I would say the first one is exactly what I just described, integrating equity engagement into every area of the chorus. And we're trying to do that, for example, with this hiring process and some of the ideas for how we are engaging in the interviews and in the recruitment for these positions came from our equity engagement committee. We also really want to share the engagement experience and workload. So, for example, for the past 27 years, a lot of that work has been done by me. And we're looking for a way to take that beyond me and get more people involved in the work that we're doing to build our capacity and making sure that we are connecting in really authentic ways with our community partners. Relationship building takes a ton of time and lots of cups of coffee and lots of talking and sitting down with people in the community. And when we get busy as a nonprofit organization, it's easy to let that important work of drinking coffee slide away. And so we want to make sure that we have that happening in a variety of roles within the chorus. Okay.
And one thing I'll just add on to this. So I think the large bequest that we received from Donna, the singer from One Voice, I think gave us permission to dream big. But one thing that I want to share with each of you who is considering applying for this role is that this is not a term limited position. So we have a strategic plan to incorporate this role into the operating budget over the course of 4 years. I'm already applying for grants to fund it, but that's seed money, but that is not the long-term picture for how this position fits in the organization. This is a sustainable position. It's not temporary.
Okay, so you all submitted really great questions. We were raving about them this morning. Thank you. The first one we're going to answer is, what about One Voice personally or organizationally brings you joy? And I'm going to start by saying, hands down, it's the people. We have a wonderful community of people that are part of this community. And it's people from all walks of life, all ages. Our youngest has been about 14 years old, and our oldest is 84 this year. And it's really the people that make this organization strong and passionate. And I think the other thing that brings me joy is our mission statement. And I know that sounds weird, but our mission statement, I'm going to say it again, building community and creating social change by raising our voices in song. Every singer knows that mission statement because we say it at the beginning of every rehearsal, and we live it. Those 3 parts of our mission, the building community and the creating social change and the singing, are really 3 parts of a stool that keep us balanced. And I love that part of our mission and our focus.
And I'll add on to that. It's the mission and how we go about it. Some personal context for me. I am not a singer. I have never been part of a chorus. I had never worked for an arts organization before joining One Voice, which might seem odd. It is. However, and this is just one of the things that I love so much about One Voice. This is much bigger than just a chorus. It is a community organization that is focused on family building, it's focused on social change, and we go about that mission in so many different beautiful ways. And the people that I get to meet and interact with and build relationships with every day is just incredible. There's an amazing, just rich cross-section of people that I come in contact with. And I'm also on kind of an inspiration high because this past weekend we had 2 big events. And so I just got to feel that joy in a very real, potent way recently. And so that's just one of the things that brings me joy. The other, briefly, I'll say, is our internal staff team. We focus on some serious issues, but I think we bring them about and we illuminate them in very meaningful ways. Behind the scenes, we also laugh a lot. We have fun. We are a tight-knit crew who is kind of scrappy at times, and we're kind of all in this together. And so I love being part of an organization, going to work every day where I don't have to show up with any formalities. I don't have to hide parts of myself. And there's a core expectation and agreement among all of us that each of us gets to show up as the full human being we are. And that makes me not ever dread going to work. Okay. Another really good question. So what are the COVID safety protocols and policies you are taking to ensure the safety of singers, staff, and volunteers and audience members? Will these standards differ between rehearsals and performance spaces? So the first thing I want to share is that our organizing principle here is safety. And that means we are constantly assessing the latest information. We have been doing this for a year and a half. And I would say, to give you a general sense, our organization sides more cautiously, more conservatively with these sorts of activities, in-person activities. There are a lot of choruses that are doing in-person, unmasked, different variations of events and gatherings. We haven't really been into that idea. We want to keep our own people safe, our community safe, but also audiences. And that just feels like it's part of our mission of community building. We want to take care of people. And to give you an idea, a direct example, so this event that we held, 2 events that we held this past weekend, the premiere of our Remembering film, that was held outdoors. It was socially distanced, and everyone was required to wear masks. That just felt right to us. We know that there are new variants spreading. We know that we're learning more every day, and we're adapting with that information the best that we can. In terms of a working environment, so we are requiring proof of vaccine status. That is both a requirement for the building that our office is in, which is Unitarian Church, so they require that of all tenants. But it's also something we would require anyways to keep everyone safe. And we're requiring that of the singers as well. And then just some other small details in the building. For instance, when we're together, all public spaces are masked. That's not a requirement when we are together in our personal offices. And let's see, Jane, do you want to add anything to that? I feel like we've been kind of shifting and reassessing for such a long time that that's kind of where we're at now, but maybe there's some more important things, Jane, that you can think of that would be helpful for folks.
Yeah, did you say that vaccines, we expect vaccines to be required for all of our staff? Okay. And when, I'm knocking on wood, when rehearsals begin live in January, that same expectation will hold for all of our singers. And we will work at whatever rehearsal space is feasible to stay safe with. We have 125 singers. It's a huge group. It may mean we need to rehearse in smaller pods or something, but it's what we'll continue to work at.
And one thing actually I'll add on to this. So Unitarian, they actually are a great partner to One Voice, and they have resources. So they actually have a very solid committee of skilled medical professionals and different folks who are assessing COVID and sharing that information with us. We also have been meeting periodically with somebody who is connected to lead epidemiologists across the world, a high-ranking official in a big corporation who loves what we do and is sharing her knowledge of all this stuff with us. Just because she wants to help out. So we're consulting people with the right types of education and awareness and connections to know what's happening on the ground that really informs our decisions. And we've had to make some really tough decisions, but at the end of the day, we are willing to scrap something that could be potentially dangerous to anyone and figure out a different way to do our work. And that's what we've been doing for a while.
Another person asked, what's your commitment to ensuring employees have a healthy work-life balance? And I will acknowledge that that is really hard, it can be really hard in a small nonprofit organization. And actually, this is one of the primary reasons we are adding staff so that we can share the workload a little more carefully. So our programming has really expanded, but we have not added staff for about 10 years. So I'm really hoping that just helps with work and life balance. I'll just say Mitch has better work-life balance than I do, and I try to learn from him every day, and it's awesome. One Voice in these full-time, both are full-time positions, offer vacation and sick time, holiday time. We have flexible schedules. We understand mental health needs and really try to be supportive of our employees. I said to one of our board members recently, Mitch and I get along really well. We work well together. It doesn't mean we always agree. But one of the things I like about Mitch is that we can disagree and kind of come at some things. We both really value direct communication. And I always find that we can come at an issue where we disagree and then leave it and move on, which does not always happen in every work setting. So an example of how supportive our board is, we pretty much worked our butts off during the 18 months of the big COVID time. And in August, our board of directors, which is amazing, the strongest board of directors I think we've ever had, they unanimously voted to give our staff a 3-week paid leave during the month of October. So it's just an incredible gift that they gave to us. So if you don't hear from Mitch and me during October, it means we are taking care of ourselves. And then we'll be back at the end of October to go through resumes and hire somebody really awesome.
We're going on vacation. We're really excited about it.
Yeah.
I'll just add quickly that, Jane shared that she's been around for 27 years in this organization. I think it's safe to say that this organization is in the most stable position it has ever been in. And that's not just because of that bequest. We have the most diversified funding streams that we've ever had. We are in a very solid position. And so Jane is kind of self-deprecating about her work-life balance, but a lot of that is due to her being the only person keeping this organization alive for a long time when resources were dry or non-existent at all. With that said, we don't have any plans to go back to that space, and we are building for the future so that that doesn't have to happen again. Okay. Another question that came in, do you have any employment or education requirements for these positions? The short answer is no. And this came out of our equity and engagement conversations. We do not want to turn anyone away or make anyone feel like they can't apply. We believe there are all types of valuable experiences, life experiences, in addition to education experience, professional experience. With that said, share what those experiences you have are. We want to know, what you bring to the table, but we do not want to eliminate any candidates because they don't meet kind of an archaic benchmark of formal education or professional experience. And next conversation or next question, if you are interested in both positions, do we ask for separate applications or one unified application? We're asking for 2 separate applications. And I think really important in that is the cover letter or whatever medium you choose to introduce yourself to us. And that's because they require 2 different sets of skills. And that doesn't mean that some of you don't have both of them, but we just want to really suss out, what that means for you, what you would bring into each position, and they require different aspects and different qualities.
So one of you asked, what is it like to be part of the One Voice team? Do we work mostly collaborative? Is it a supportive culture? I think, Mitch, you addressed a lot of that already. The way I would describe it is there is a ton of intersection between our jobs within the One Voice staff. And I'm going to include a bunch of volunteers that are very active and involved in One Voice as well. But I would also say that our positions are very clearly defined. So, for example, I do programming and Mitch does marketing and fundraising. I do backstage preparation for a concert and Mitch does front of house preparation for a concert. There are some pretty clear distinctions in what we do. And I think one of the overlaps, certainly the operations coordinator connects to all of these different positions, which is kind of fun. And we don't know exactly how the community engagement position will interact, but certainly we will work very closely together and sort of figure out what part of that role is community engagement and what part is my role as artistic director. And Mitch, just about an hour ago, someone asked, what are you looking for in the most ideal candidate for each position?
Ooh, I love an in the moment, on the spot question. This is good. I would say for me, it goes back to communication. We are a small nonprofit. We're in a really good place. But we're also, especially in this COVID space, we're figuring things out together. And that can mean so many different things for each of us, both personally and professionally. And so I just really appreciate direct communication, especially as a supervisor. I want to know if somebody is struggling. I do not expect perfection. I want to know how I can help people succeed. And that goes for everyone, Jane, not just people who report to me. So that's a really key quality for me, is just, and it's hard. I have to work on it all the time. But really being open with, where each of us is at and figuring out ways forward. It's never going to be clean or perfect. But I go back to that. I love my job because I get to show up as a full human being, and I want everyone to feel that way. And sometimes that means being like, I'm a wreck today. I don't know what's up. I need to catch up. I need some space to do this. And Jane and I do that kind of back and forth a lot. This is what I need right now. And then we can work around that.
I think also, especially for the operations position, we're really looking for somebody who's tech savvy. So if you have tech skills, lay them on us. Like, let us know what you can do. Video, web, maybe something bizarre and interesting that we don't know about it. But that's an important part of that role as well. I think for the community engagement position, the description I gave of someone who can really relate and interact with a very, very wide variety of people, from perhaps conservative people in greater Minnesota to all kinds of people here in the Twin Cities, that's a really, really important quality.
I'll just add one more and then I'll stop, because I don't want to spend the whole evening on this, but I think curiosity is a really important component of somebody in either of these roles. Being curious to learn more, to figure something out.
Problem solving.
Yeah, being a self-starter, I think, is really important because we're not always going to be able to proactively train or explain something. And there might be moments where it's like, oh, I need to figure something out. And then, digging into that, taking the time to figure something out is really important. And then again, communicating that. So, hey, I need some time to figure this out, and this is what I'm going to be doing. That's awesome. I love that type of approach to learn and to grow with your own kind of compass.
I'll add too that sometimes we've gotten into hiring situations and people are afraid to come out to us in an interview. If you are queer or you have connections to a queer community or connections to whatever, we want to hear about it. So be out in whatever form out means for you, and feel very, very free to share that with us.
So we will keep these positions open through, well, they're going to be open until filled. The timeline right now is that the positions will be posted through October 17th. On the 18th, Jane and I are going to come together, and we have some volunteers helping monitor the emails and the applicants that come in. But Jane and I are really going to meet in a focused way on October 18th, and then select the first kind of round of candidates to move forward for an interview. And then we plan on doing a second round of interviews with the finalists. And that the first round will be a panel of interviews, or interviewers. It'll likely be 3 or 4 people in the first interview. And then the second one will likely just be Jane and I meeting with the finalists. And our goal is to have both of these positions filled mid to late November.
There is a really amazing impact report that Mitch put together, and it is on the hiring website, the onevoicemn.org/hire, along with the position descriptions. There's a link to informational video. We tried to put a whole bunch of stuff on that page so you could learn about us.
So right now we are a hybrid working office. We do plan on, and I think that will be true for a while. However, we are planning on coming back currently in the winter. So January 2022 is when we are launching our next season. We do feel like it's very important, especially during the training and onboarding phase of hiring, to be together in person. And we'll do that safely. And there will be a balance of, remote work and in-person work, but especially during the last months of this year, it's really important, we feel, to be together, building connections with one another in relationship, but also just like the tactical training aspects of the organization, getting folks set up, learning programs, learning, the structure of the organization. So there will be a balance with that, but currently we are planning on coming back in person. And like I said before, we assess this weekly. While other choruses have moved forward with in-person seasons during the fall, we scrapped that because we felt like what we were seeing was not safe enough. And so we made those decisions. So, but currently that's what we're expecting is our team will be coming back together in person. So our first round of interviews is strictly over Zoom. I think at some point we would like to meet folks in person. I'll quickly just add something. So one of the things that has been really great recently in the past 6 months, we have worked with an IT group, an outside group that has basically, we're working to retrofit the organization to be tech forward and be able to work remotely in the best way that we can so that every employee has the right resources, the right equipment, the right access to what they need to do their jobs. But that also translates to the in-person work as well. So we're trying to make that as seamless as possible. It's just one of these lessons that we've learned during COVID. Even if COVID was removed, we still want these resources and components in place.
Are there current plans to extend vaccination protocols to audience and event attendees? Or is this a play by ear as you roll out more of your in-person activities? Over to Mitch.
It's on our minds. So audience insights and attitudes toward being together in person is a really big thing on my mind. And also, like I said before, our organizing principle is safety. So that has not been determined, but it's definitely an important question. And, it really does get into some of the technical aspects. How do we require proof of vaccination for such a large group of people attending one event? So there's just some implementation pieces to that. But yes, I mean, it's a really important question that we're asking ourselves and we'll be addressing pretty soon, probably when we come back in October.
Yep. So One Voice is part of a North American-wide network of just about 200 LGBTQ choruses. And it's an incredible resource for us. So we have access to all this whole group of artistic directors, executive directors, administrators, and are constantly in meetings and email discussion lists about protocols, about ways that other choruses are working with audiences and with singers. So I'm just really grateful every day for those kind of resources, and they will definitely be key for us as we move forward with eventually live performances. I just want to be sure to invite you to watch the One Voice film that premiered last weekend live outside. It's going to be streamed on October 14 and 17. There's a link on the One Voice website. I'm going to put a link here in the chat. We'd love to have you there.
And these are great questions, and it's been fun seeing your faces and getting a sense of who might be part of our team in just a couple of months. So,
and I put hire@onevoicemn.org. That's the address that you can write to, and we do have someone monitoring that address.
okay.
So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks all.
We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.